The one thing that I'll say to anyone that is evaluating any tools, don't always just consider that just because you have a best tool available in the market, it would deliver the best results. Because having the fantastic tool is great, but then not having the resource and availability to execute what that tool allows you to do won't get you the results. For you to bring in a tool and deliver the ROI, you need a dedicated resource to it. Don't expect tool to just come into the business and magically sing and dance and increase your revenue.
It's the eCommerce Master Plan podcast, here to help you solve your marketing problems and grow your e-commerce business. Cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and advice from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello and welcome. It's great to have you here. Thank you for hitting play and choosing to listen to one of our inspiring guests. We've got a thank you to do before we get into this episode, and that thank you is to Alla Kakani from Nosto for introducing us to this brilliant guest. Thank you, Alla. Hope all is good with you. Now, in this episode, we are doing one of those episodes where we dive into a specific job role, I suppose, in the world of e-commerce. We're talking to the man in charge of the D2C tech stack at the Portmeirion Group, which is a huge business trading across 6 brands, 5 of which are on D2C. And we'll be getting into whether you should consolidate or test different elements in the tech stack, how you go about doing that optimization of the tech stack, where AI fits into it all, and a whole heap more. Plus, for those of you who've been around as long as I have, prepare to thoroughly enjoy his answer to my question about how did you get started in e-commerce, because there's a whole load of tech he mentions that will kind of swirl up from the past and remind you of things that have gone before. And if you're younger, then prepare to have a list of things to go, what did they do? What did they do then? Anyway, very interesting stuff coming up. Make sure you listen to the end so you don't miss out on my guest's top tips and my own take on this episode. And now to introduce our special guest. Ankit Jadav is the Global Head of Digital Operations at the Portmeirion Group, home to 6 unique homeware and fragrance brands with a combined 750 years of trading, including Spode, Portmeirion, Royal Worcester, Nambe, Pimpernel and Wax Lyrical. Turnover is now £110 million a year, of which approximately 10% is D2C. Hello, Ankit.
Hello, Chloe. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome to have you here. It's always a treat for me to get to talk to someone who is in one specific area of the e-commerce business rather than trying to tackle everything. So very much looking forward to talking tech with you today. How did you get into e-commerce though?
So my e-commerce journey started really early. I'll say about 23 years ago when I was first introduced to Microsoft front page. So some of your listeners might have to Google that. 23 years ago, long time ago. So back then, I created a basic page. If you look at it from a point of view from today's technology, but I just found the whole concept of HTML code, fonts, colors, the alignments, the layouts, very interesting. It was a very geeky thing to do back then, but it was always interesting to me. And then sort of following on from that, when I was in university, we had a module for internet development. So whereby created a basic, again, session-based website using Adobe Dreamweaver, another throwback that some of you might have to Google. And then following on from that, I was intrigued by, there was a website around called don'tclick.it. If you try going onto it now, it doesn't exist. But the whole background around that website was navigating a website with how to click. So for me, that was interesting because the internet was still in its infancy as I see it. So then I created my final year project based on that using Adobe Flash. And all of that experience was very interesting. Long nights, didn't have AI back then. So it was a lot of Stack Overflow and it was a whole lot of trial and error. And then sort of moving away from that after university, I just played around with the HTML, the CSS, the PHPs, and just the basic JavaScript to understand how everything worked. And then I bought a domain, created my website, and tried hosting my first ever portfolio website. I still have my fully optimized code somewhere amongst my files. It's non-mobile responsive, but I was where I was then. And then I spent a lot of time understanding CMS systems, things like WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and just get my bearings on how the back end worked with these front end languages. And that's how I started into it. Once I understood it, then my first role was for a 5-man team based in Nottingham. And that role was really my eye opener into world of ecom, because that's where I started I started on an apprenticeship scheme really, and kind of got lucky getting into ecom, considering the lady that was there previously, she didn't come back from her leave. So the role was handed over to me, started doing customer service, phone calls, answering emails, and then upgraded to the website management side of things. So updating content, adding products, creating promotions, doing SEO optimization work, all of that on the custom build platform. And then got further involved into things like eBay and Amazon management, to the point where eventually I was managing the whole fulfillment by Amazon process. So that's whereby you bring the products into your warehouse, you label them, you send them into the Amazon warehouse, make sure everything is received, and you are constantly replenishing quantities, looking after your margins and making sure everything is healthy. So there was a lot of hands-on there, from order printing, packing, labeling, and loading it onto the courier vans at the end of the day. And that's where I got my first sort of interaction with Magento 1 as well. So yeah, going on from there, that was really an eye-opener into ecom, and really gave me a strong foundation to sort of build up on. We didn't have budgets then because it was a 5-man team, so there wasn't signing up for additional services. If you needed something done, you had to use your creative problem-solving skills. So, nowadays everyone has API integration with the likes of Romels, DPDs, and other couriers. We didn't have that, so it was a case of learning, creating a CSV for Romel, uploading the CSV onto Romel, then printing out 50, 100 labels, and then at the end of the day, you're manually trying to label these packages to get them to go out, really. So yeah, that was my first. And then sort of continuing on to my journey, my second role landed me into a SME based in Leicester. And for them, I was initially onboarded to work on their eBay and Amazon account because of the experience they had previously. But the business had the need to move from their desktop-based platform. So there was a platform called Actinic. Again, it was similar to Dreamweaver, so not really scalable or robust at that point for where the business was trying to get, where the business was heading into. And considering that's where the mobile optimized website was coming into play, it was really imperative for the business to be on the platform that allows them to do that. So that's where we picked Magento, what's now referred to as Adobe Commerce Cloud. And the agency that we worked with was a bit slow at responding, and we had timeline to hit. So we had to get it live before the peak trading period, make sure it was functioning, going through the testing, etc., etc. So the business made a decision of bringing it in-house. And because of the hands-on experience they had previously and the work I had done, they basically sort of gave me the key and said, go on, you can do it now. So then there was a lot of hands-on there as well, trying to go from the Magento installation, configuration, the theme management, the running of it on the day-to-day, process mapping, a lot of Excel data manipulation to get in the right order. And that was also the first time I worked with an offshore team. So briefing and how the execution comes about was a new thing to me at that time as well. And just to add on top of that, there was no project management tool, no Jira, no ClickUp, no Trello, nothing. It was a case of, now some of you can interpret it however you want it, but it was JFYI mode. Just F, whatever you want to pull it. Just, yeah. It's the backlog, sprints, prioritizing stories. So yeah, quite an experience working as an in-house developer / an admin / to go-to guy. And that's where I got exposed into the world of sort of website security, payments, PCI DSS. So quite a learning curve there, really. And then we also implemented a PIM and OMS system because the business was multi-channel orientated. So we sold on the website as well as the eBays and the Amazons. And because the business was expanding, managing the day-to-day operation of printing the orders, labeling, etc., was just taking time. So instead of people doing this manual task, we need to automate it. So we implemented that system as well. And I still remember being sat on the floor on the first day of launch, being fully exhausted because you can go through integrations, multiple rounds of testing, but when it's go live time, that's when it really hits the fan. So yeah, quite an experience there. So going from the hands-on well, going from hands-on exposure to implementing a platform. And then it only naturally made sense to go into the agency side of things. So I work with an agency based in Leicester. So it was a case of taking the experience I had, but turning down to a bigger scale. And sort of a single project, you worked on 3 or 4 live projects at a time, going from kickoff, design, front-end build, back-end work, managing the integrations, testing, and going live, really. And that really allowed me to hone in on the multiple e-com platforms that I work with now, from the likes of Adobe Commerce Cloud, BigCommerce, Shopify, and the external tools and the third parties that I still work with currently. They really allowed me to get into those details. And although I started on the role as a project manager, when it came towards the end, I was acting more as a technology architect. So that was wonderful. And after all of that, here I am at Portmeirion Group. So take all of that, bundle it into a nice little package. So this is where I manage now the full B2C e-com stack, manage the budgets, setting the vision and strategy for the tech unit, manage the RFP process, vendor selection, commercial negotiations, the legal side of things, onboarding, execution, and handover. So yeah, here I am.
I love that rundown you've just given us, Ankit. There were so many tech things. I was going, I remember Actinic, the website on a CD-ROM, and Dreamweaver. Gosh, I did a Dreamweaver course in Leamington Spa, I think, back in the day for some unknown reason. But yeah, love that rundown. Do you think if you didn't have such a background in the coding side of it, the hands-on part, you'd be able to do, because I'm assuming most of your job these days doesn't involve a great deal of coding. So do you think you'd be as good managing the tech stack if you didn't have that deep knowledge of the actual code itself or in all its forms?
In my view, no, just because having that understanding how the code side and integrations, just understanding how the background works, it allows that easy conversation with the developers or the project managers. And it also puts you in the front seat in a way because you have worked on it, you know what it takes. So when the developer or the project manager come back to you, you're able to challenge them instead of, if they say it's X, you agree with X. If they say X and you know for a fact that there is other bits behind, you can query them a bit further. And it's not just the challenging, but it's also the learning experience as well, because the development side of things is always evolving. So the more you query them, the more information you get back, the more you're understanding it further as well. So it just allows your personal development and it allows for a stronger relationship. I mean, some of the partners that we've had in the business, they've been there for quite a long time. And it's one of those where I know that if something was to happen, if there's a priority issue or, if it was to hit the fan, I know they will have my back for a fact. And that's where I've got to now.
And the other, preparing for this interview, the one question I really wanted to ask you, because many years ago was the e-commerce manager in charge of 6 or 7 different mail order brands, right? So businesses with budget, but no idea what to do online. And the deliberation I found was, should I build them all on different tech stacks? So as I've got different things I can test, you can actually live test. Should we be on, Shopify, or should we be on Adobe Commerce Cloud? Because we'll build one on each and then we'll do the rest of them on whatever wins the test. Or do you go for consolidation? What's your approach? Listeners, I saw his face as I was saying that. I think I know where we're going with this. But Ankit, do you go consolidation, one tech stack for all 6 brands, or do you put some testing in there as well?
Now, funny you should say that, because coincidentally, it was just last year that we've been through a consolidation tech stack. So I inherited originally a Salesforce Commerce Cloud and Adobe Commerce Cloud. And while it is wonderful to have multiple platforms, the management of it, the day-to-day management, not just from the e-com or tech stack perspective, but just the daily content administration, the pricing and everything that goes into it becomes a bit convoluted, whereby you're not doing your best work because you're just trying to get it going. So having it on multiple platforms, if you have bigger teams and you can scale those teams, then hey, it's a great resource to have. But unfortunately for us, that wasn't the case. So we had those 2 platforms. at the end of the day, we had to pick one where we could have our technology sat onto. So as of January this year, all five of our websites, they're all now live on Adobe Commerce Cloud.
Consolidation all the way then.
Yes, indeed. And because we're sort of rolling it even further now, because now that the platform is consolidated, now we are looking across the multiple tools that we have as well to go, which one do we consolidate all of our services into? So then we have one ESP provider, one PIM, and so on and so forth. So it's a continual process.
And is it also something which, in the e-commerce tech stack space, the ecosystem at the moment, we are seeing tools doing ever more things, blurring of the lines between, loyalty, affiliates and retention as a bad example, more of a marketing example than a tech stack example, but those blurring of lines between things. So as well as consolidating so all your brands are using the same ESP, are you also going, well, actually, we don't need a separate this and that because this one tool will cover what 3 tools were doing previously? Does that come into your thinking?
So in terms of our consolidation view, we are continuously reviewing our tech stack. Just because you have a best of breed solutions in, let's say, search, for example, and then all of a sudden they will offer recommendation or merchandising. But then when you go through that RFP process with them, you quickly find out that this specific tool, they're really good at search, and let's just stick with search on them just because of the ROI you receive as compared to having that all in one tool. There are other providers that do really good job of them, but they are just not within our budgets right now. I would love to have them, but we are just not there yet.
So it's not just going, let's have fewer tools for the sake of fewer tools. It's the price and the budget, and it's what gives us the best results and what's already in place, I suppose, as well. There's a lot of factors you're having to bring together.
Absolutely. And the one thing that I'll say to anyone that is evaluating any tools, don't always just consider that just because you have a best tool available in the market, it would deliver the best results. Because having the fantastic tool is great, but then not having the resource and availability to execute what that tool allows you to do won't get you the results. For you to bring in a tool and deliver the ROI, you need a dedicated resource to it. Don't expect tool to just come into the business and magically sing and dance and increase your revenue.
Oh, so many of us make that error. I was going to say so many people, but no, it's us. I do it as well. You buy the tool and think you've solved the problem. It's like back at uni. If I scan the book, if I photocopy the article, it's the same as reading it. Oh, no, Chloe.
I wish that was true though.
Yeah, if only. So what does your team look like? And you go wider across the D2C channels if you want to with this.
So our team, we are no lies here, we are a lean, mean operating machine. We spread across 5 brands. There is 8 of us, which is a global team based in UK. We are spread across trading, content, merchandising, admin, and technical projects. And sort of as what I've alluded to earlier, we are supported by some incredible partners that we've had over the number of years with strong, very strong relationships.
And that 8, is that doing the marketing as well, or is that purely keeping the websites running?
There's marketing, there's website marketing as well. So it's a quite a big task, but somehow the team plow through it and we still deliver results.
That's impressive. And I suppose to run it so leanly, you can't do what I would suggest, just implement everything and run it and see what happens and then test it afterwards. You've got to do that due diligence really well before you make those decisions. Yeah.
And it goes into that priority, the must-have, the must-have, should-have, could-have. What's going to deliver the highest value with the lowest amount of effort? Let's get implemented first. So then you're almost, when it comes to creating your business cases, you're releasing the value from a X solution or a X initiative before you're able to go back to the people that signed the checks and say, hey, now I need X amount for this solution because we did this X test and look at the return that it's come back with. And that's how you incrementally build your tool set. And it's all about building the right tool set, as I said previously, and not just having the tool for the sake of it.
And you're running 5 brands on the D2C platforms globally.
Yep.
How do you, I suppose from the tech stack perspective, it's a little bit easier to work out how to prioritize because you're building a consolidated tech stack across everything. But as a team to decide, Are we going to spend all our time working on website A versus website D? Is it purely based on sales where the effort gets put in, or is it potential sales?
It's a mix of both. So because we are UK and US, if US have a specific day coming up, like coming up to June, 4th of July, then that will get a lot more effort than the UK website. We know for a fact that coming up to Christmas, our US consumers, they are more attracted to our Christmas offerings, so that launch will get more attention than it will get on the UK one. So it's all about which channel is performing at what level, what events are coming up, what promotional activities we've got planned, what product launches we've got planned, what pricing strategies we've got planned. It's a mix of multiple factors in a way.
Now, given you're such a tech stack expert in the e-commerce space, no pressure. Obviously, you've just done last year. You've been doing the big platform consolidation and getting the right platform. What for you are the next must-have pieces of tech for an e-commerce store? The decisions you really don't want to get wrong.
So the next key one for us is a CDP, so a customer data platform. Now that we've got our tech in one place, now it's all about let's understand our customers. Let's understand how they're interacting with the websites, the touch points which they're interacting with. And once we've got that idea, then it's flipping that on its head in terms of personalization. So now if customers visited the website once from, let's say, paid, for example, when they come in the next time, they should see an experience which is tailored to them. So if they'll click on a specific products, a specific collection, whatever have you, when they land on the website, they're seeing something that's more catered towards them to really increase the chance of that customer converting.
So it's CDP next in order to enable personalization on the website and across marketing?
Currently, it's just across our websites, not the retail. So we haven't opened up that kind of one that multi-channel is at the moment.
Fair enough. It is a whole other level of complexity.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And dare I ask you about AI? There's so much noise in our space at the moment about AI being the bringer of everything. Clearly, you have some serious knowledge, both of our tech ecosystem and with coding and new tools and new things coming in over your career as you ran us through. What's your take on AI? Are you busy implementing it across the business? Have you not done anything yet? Where do you think you'll start? What's your take on it all?
So in terms of, some of us have started using AI just to understand the current processes and how we can optimize it. Now, we haven't rolled it out to the wider business just because before you take on such a brave steps, you need to have a couple of policies surrounding it. Because if you give it to people, they will push a whole lot of data into it. They will ask it questions, and not knowing where the data goes into, that opens up privacy questions. So we are keeping it to a set number of people, really. And we've also established sort of like an AI working group internally. So between some of us that have the working knowledge of various processes within the business, we are effectively sticking all of them in a list and kind of picking a process that we could optimize using AI. And all of that we're doing internally right now. In terms of extending that bit further, so I still like to dip in and out of the coding side of things. So I kind of use your Claude Cowork as my coding partner as I'm going through it, as I'm going through my personal website builds, just to understand what it can versus can't do. Also, when it comes to troubleshooting issues in the websites every now and then, when you see things, and instead of the previously working off Stack Overflows, Googles, or whatever have you, now we have this real-time companion in a way that you can ask a question and you get the answers and they will set you in the right direction. So that's how we are approaching it. We've got couple of tools that offer these AI solutions, and I get a lot of AI experts reaching out to me about how they can solve issues, but I haven't seen anything that's blown me out, has amazed me so far.
So Ankit, one of my theories around AI, and tell me if I'm way off base with this or if you agree, is that actually in e-commerce, the biggest impact with AI is going to come from it being built into the tools we already use. Our merchandising system, our CDP, our website, et cetera, rather than it being the team generating marketing graphics. And it feels like, just to add another question in there for you, that a lot of the e-commerce tech tools are now building in AI elements on the back end that we use and sometimes on the customer end as well. Are you seeing that?
Yes, indeed. So the back end wise, having AI tools is incredible now, because instead of the team having to go through multiple reports to get the answers that they need, they can just ask the question, they have the number. Although sometimes you do have to go double check it, because I've seen a couple of examples where the AI will come back with an answer where that's not what the reports are suggesting. So that's the internal reporting system. But when it comes to front end side of things, yeah, AI is incredible, and we are really looking at unlocking that next phase, which is the personalization going on from CDP, because that's whereby if the user comes in and depending on how they browse the website, the next time they come in, the website descriptions and how the website is presented to them, that changes as well. So that will be a plus one for us.
E-commerce Master Plan is supported by some of the greatest companies in the e-commerce sector. Here's a reminder of who they are. It's time for the top tips round.
Okay, I love this section because it gives me and our listeners some really quick ideas for taking our businesses to the next level. Ankit, are you ready for the top tips?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, the book top tip. If everyone listening to this podcast agreed to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
So I've got two books. One of them is to get the internal fire started, and the other one is to keep you balanced as you're on the path of achieving whatever goals you might have. So it's a yin yang concept. So the first one, before I mention the book name, is a quote from the author, which I've got it sort of printed and labeled in my head now as well. So the quote is quite simple. It's if you think of the price of winning is too high, wait until you get the bill of regret, because that bill is generational. Really powerful quote there. And that quote is from Tim Grover. And if there are any basketball fans listening to this, he was the athletic trainer for, in my view, the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And his book is relentless. And it's pretty much all in the title, really. It gives you that mentality to strip away the excuses and go after what it really takes to perform at the highest level when it matters the most. So that's the first one. Now, whether you implement it in your personal life or professional life, it really gets the fire started. The second one is to sort of keep you balanced. And that's The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. Now, unlike the other books, this is simply one page a day. And it's using that ancient wisdom for modern life. It helps you building that mental resilience and that clarity. So those are my two books.
I love the balance between the balanced book and the fire book. Great recommendations. Thank you, Ankit. Traffic top tip. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
I think the inclusion of organic traffic needs to be on top of everyone's mind at all times. The one key tip is keep your products, depending on which market you are, keep your product story orientated and take your customers on that storytelling journey. Make it so that when your customers are thinking of your industry or the products that you and your competitors sell, they think of your products first. So instead of just making it that funnel where customer comes in and you're looking to sell them, get into that storytelling element and really get your customer to understand the business, the history, and what you're offering.
Nice. Okay. Tool top tip. Maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day?
Absolutely. Mine is the Pomodoro Focus to-do list. It's a simple concept of 25 and a 5. So you work on whatever task you may have for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, get you to just walk away from your desk, refresh, recharge, and you get back into swing of things. I use it very simply just to list everything that I have, because sometimes I find that although you got physical written notes, having to flick through them back and forth takes your time, whereas I keep it in a way so that all my tasks are organized. I keep my notes in there, so when I pick them up the next day, I don't need to refresh myself. I've got myself a little reminder on what I need to do, and I carry on from there. And the other tool I would just say is get yourself an AI buddy. So you can throw ideas back and forth and you can move on with your whatever idea you may have into something big if there is a rationale behind it.
Nice. Couple of tips in there. Like it. The carbon top tip. What's your favourite way to reduce the carbon footprint of an e-commerce store?
So luckily, we have a sustainability team here at Portmeirion, and they're always on top of such initiatives. So they are constantly reviewing the packaging used in materials. We work with couriers that have EV in them. We have sensor lights throughout the warehouse and the warehouse and the offices, and they've also got energy efficient bulbs implemented. So yeah, all kudos to them.
And huge impacts, all of those on the bottom line, as well as the carbon footprint.
Yes.
Very much so. Okay, Ankit, before we say goodbye, could you please let the listeners know where they can find you and Portmeirion on the web and social media?
Absolutely. So on the web, we are portmeirion.co.uk, spode.co.uk. If you are from the US, portmeirion.com, spode.com, and nambe.com.
Simple as that, everybody. Ankit, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great diving into the world of the tech stack optimizer, I suppose. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
Fascinating to dive into Ankit's world there. And I think lots of bits and pieces I find quite fascinating in there. Obviously, you know, a lovely reminder for those of us who've been around for long enough of all those tools we've used over the years in his kind of how he got into e-commerce, but also not the slowness, but the consideredness of how they are going about consolidating the tech stack. You get one bit right, then you find the one bit that's going to make the most difference. I'm sure a customer data platform is not the easiest next step to take after doing your web platform, but obviously it's one that's going to make huge impacts on the business. Now you can get your hands on our notes from this episode, including the top tips and links to what we discussed by heading over to ecommercemasterplan.com. You can also use our direct episode short links. Just put ecmp.info/the number of this episode into the URL bar and you'll be redirected straight to the right episode page. When you get to the website, you can also add yourself to the email list so you don't miss out on any of the other things I share to help you. If you like this episode, then make sure you check out episode 285 with Ainsley Pete from Cox & Cox for more homewares insights. And if you want even more homewares than that, then ecmp.info/home for that. Thank you for tuning in to this and every episode that you do of the e-commerce master plan podcast. I bring you a new interview every week because I want to inspire and help e-commerce business owners like you to succeed and thrive with your businesses, including encouraging businesses and consumers to make more sustainable buying decisions. So if you know someone this show can help, please tell them to listen to the e-commerce master plan podcast. Hope you have a great week and don't forget to keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce master plan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast.